People in Fairy Tale, starting with Ryujin Jakka. Chapter 21. Change clothes, armor of light. A white light flashed, and Urza put on a full-body armor with a transparent mask. The armor was pure white, with a little golden pattern as a border and embellishment, which looked very holy. In her hand, there was also a long sword of the same style, with a sapphire inlaid on the handle. With Urza's righteous face and momentum, she appeared in front of everyone like a perfect knight. By the way, under Yi Yu's influence, all of Urza's exposed armor was replaced with formal armor. The armor of light has a strong resistance to light magic, and the mask on my face allows me to see the surroundings clearly in high brightness, Urza introduced to Yi Yu. Is there another set of Flame Emperor armor waiting for me in the back? Yi Yu summoned the flowing blade Ruahuo into his hand and said with certainty. That's right, ever since I saw the flame of your sword, I started to forge it, Urza nodded and replied. I knew it. Arusa's armor is varied, and each set has different functions. No wonder she was faster than Mira in the first level. In comparison, Myra's demons are stronger, but now she can only receive one, and the function is still too monotonous. I'm going to attack, Yi Yu, Urza shouted, taking the lead in the attack and rushing towards Yi Yu. Light-shaping magic, wall, spikes. A white wall appeared between Yi Yu and Urza, and the back of the wall was covered with spikes. This was Yi Yu testing the strength of the armor of light. Relative to the wall, Urza did not slow down, but began to speed up. With a shoulder charge, she broke through the white wall, and stepped on the spikes without stopping, directly crushing them. Every move was full of violent aesthetics, and she transformed into a humanoid tank and accelerated towards Yi Yu. Yi Yu hurriedly erected several white walls and fired several light bombs to bombard the ground, splashing a lot of dust to block time, and began to perceive mentally, turning the battlefield into a situation that was favorable to him. Urza broke through several white walls in succession, and finally stopped. She suddenly turned around to parry and blocked Yi Yu's sneak attack from behind. Urza, when did you become so violent? Yi Yu asked while wrestling with Urza. Didn't you say that? In a battle, you must take the initiative and show your momentum, Urza replied, and at the same time, she pushed Yi Yu out with force. She slightly accumulated strength under her feet, and then burst out suddenly, quickly approaching Yi Yu, and began her most familiar swordsmanship close combat to suppress Yi Yu. Yi Yu's main training direction in the past 6 months has been to improve his magic power and magic control, in order to reach the realm of Bankai as soon as possible. He didn't put much energy into swordsmanship, but fortunately he had spiritual perception, and under Urza's fierce offensive, he barely managed to hold on to a 55-50 situation. In the next few minutes, Yi Yu was dragged by Urza, unable to find space to use magic, and kept fighting with swordsmanship. This was different from Yi Yu's plan. If it dragged on, I'm afraid both of them would be eliminated. Yi Yu controlled the magic power and injected it into the flow blade, and a scorching flame briefly burst out from the blade, forcing Urza back more than 10 meters. Back then, the captain controlled a 6,000-degree flame to roast sweet potatoes without the initial release. It was also reasonable for Yi Yu to use a little flame without the initial release. Change clothes, armor of Emperor Yan. Yi Yu, are you finally going to use that sword? Urza changed into a cute double-tailed armor and said seriously. At the same time, she became alert. Yi Yu's flame half a year ago left a deep impression on Urza. Now after half a year of training, the flame will only be more terrifying. Urza tightly grasped the sword in her hand and began to gather all her strength and magic power, ready to deliver the strongest blow at any time. Don't be nervous, Urza, it will be over soon. Yi Yu breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Urza change out of the full-body armor and put on the lightweight Flame Emperor armor. He could finally carry out his original plan. If he was still wearing the full-body armor, Yi Yu's 2 birds with 1 stone would not be able to proceed. If he wanted to win, he would have to use the first release, but if the first release hurt Urza, he would be heartbroken. Next, I will decide the outcome with just 1 strike, Yi Yu said as he walked towards Urza. The distance between them quickly narrowed, from 8 meters, 6 meters, 4 meters, to 2 meters, and Yi Yu stopped. Next, I will use my strongest attack, Urza, if you can't take it, you may die, admit defeat, Yi Yu said loudly and seriously. I won't give up. Come on, I will take any attack. Urza replied in a tense voice, obviously frightened by Yi Yu. Even Yi Yu chose to keep a distance in the last duel with Gildarts, but did not take the initiative to get close this time. Such unreasonable behavior was not doubted. And Urza was not the only one affected, because the tense atmosphere on the field also made Mira and Makarov, who were watching the game, nervous and ignored some unreasonable places. Even Makarov was ready to stop it immediately if the situation was not right. This is also a bit naive and caring. Urza, before you attack, I want to tell you something, Yi Yu said seriously. What's up? That is, I like you. Yi Yu shouted loudly. Urza. Mira and Makarov's minds suddenly went blank. Must they say something so explosive at this critical moment? Yi Yu seized the opportunity and immediately stepped forward to put the Ryujin Ruahuo on Urza's neck. You lose. Yi Yu's voice immediately brought Urza back to her senses. Her pretty face instantly turned red, and white steam seemed to be coming out of her head. What did you just say? Urza stumbled for a long time before she finished her sentence. She completely forgot about this duel, this S-level test, and no longer paid any attention to it. Mira next to her was also blushing. She had never seen such a scene before. Is Yi Yu confessing to Urza? Where is my Prince Charming? What should I call my future child? Mira fell into fantasy. Makarov also came back to his senses and thought, this is not my youth, how can you develop so fast? Shouldn't they have a crush on each other, slowly let their feelings grow, and finally spend a few years confessing their love and getting together? You have only known each other for more than half a year. Ignoring the audience's questions, Yi Yu put away the knife, leaned close to Urza's ear, and whispered softly, I said, I like you. I had thought of many confession scenarios before, but I suddenly realized that this opportunity was good, so I decided on the spur of the moment. How about you? Have you decided how to respond to me? Faced with Yi Yu's sudden confession, Urza's mind was in a mess, her IQ dropped to 0, and she had no idea how to deal with it. Yi Yu touched Urza's head and comforted her, relax, if you can't figure it out for the time being, don't think about it. Give me an answer when you calm down and think it through. Yi Yu looked at Urza who showed no disgust, and he breathed a sigh of relief. His heart, which had been beating wildly because of the confession, was still beating wildly and couldn't stop. Urza had experienced the Tower of Paradise when she was a child, and she was extremely insecure and didn't dare to accept other people's feelings. Usually when faced with the feelings conveyed by others, Urza would choose to reject them. Only after long-term contact would she slowly accept them. This time Yi Yu suddenly confessed his love, and Urza did not refuse but chose to consider it. It's settled, Yi Yu shouted in his heart, and his heartbeat quickened. Before crossing to the world of fairy tale, Urza was one of the people Yi Yu called his wife. Urza is strong and brave, and she is beautiful and has beautiful and smooth red hair. In the plot of fairy tale, she is very reliable in everything she does, and sometimes she looks a little silly and cute, which are the reasons why Yi Yu likes this character. After crossing over and getting along with Urza for more than half a year, Yi Yu got to know Urza more comprehensively, and gradually she liked this anime character. I've come to like this person. I originally wanted to wait until I became an S-class wizard before looking for a chance to confess, but today is the right time, so I did it earlier. Although Urza is only 14 years old now and can't eat yet, it doesn't mean that she can't put it in her own bowl first. Do you understand how to cultivate it? Moreover, in the fairy tale world, 16 years old is considered an adult, so it's normal to fall in love at the age of 14. Yi Yu took a deep breath, took the hand of the steaming Urza, walked towards Makarov, and said happily, Grandpa, come back to your senses, the battle is over, and I barely won. Yi Yu's voice immediately called back the three distracted people. Urza then realized that her hand was held by Yi Yu. She pulled it out with a little force, but failed to break free. Instead, Yi Yu changed her hand to a 10-finger clasped position and held it tightly. Seeing that Yi Yu refused to let go, Urza gave up and let Yi Yu hold her hand, but the shyness in her heart, like the sea, doubled. She was so embarrassed that she could only lower her head to look at her feet and dared not look at Makarov and Mira. Seeing that Urza's hand was no longer resisting, Yi Yu agreed to let him hold her hand, and his heart was as sweet as eating honey. Makarov came back to his senses and looked at Yi Yu and Urza, who were holding hands like a young couple, and he was very happy. It was a great thing that two lonely children could come together and form a small family. You are such a secretive guy, when did you secretly get along well with Urza? There are only a few golden flowers in our guild, and you picked one and took it away. Makarov asked curiously. He had never seen Yu and Urza interacting frequently in the guild before. How come their relationship is so good that they are about to be together? It's much better than what he had guessed before. Old man, I'm not stupid, okay. Such a noisy guild is not a place to communicate with girls. We usually hang out together, practicing swordplay, eating cake, taking a walk, and chatting, Yu said unhappily. And the flowers haven't been picked yet. Urza is still considering whether to agree to me. Oh, you haven't agreed yet. Makarov looked at the two people who were still holding hands, deliberately dragging out his voice and teasing. Hearing Makarov's teasing, Urza lowered her head even lower, not knowing how to face Makarov later. Suddenly Yu raised his eyebrows and winked at Makarov. As an old man, Makarov immediately understood and asked. So when did you fall in love with Urza? I liked her the first time I met her, and as we got to know each other better, I was even more certain of it. I even thought about marrying her in the future. So what do you like most about Urza? Strong and courageous character, beautiful hair, stunning looks, etc., etc. Anyway, I like everything about Urza the most. So, have you thought about what to name your future child? Not yet. I need to discuss this with Urza and make sure we are both satisfied. Yu and Makarov chatted enthusiastically. Mira was also listening at the side, but Urza was anxious, shy and anxious. What's the difference between chatting like this and Yu confessing all the time? But Urza's shyness was so strong that it could destroy the world. She was too embarrassed to speak, so she could only pull Yu's arm and give him a look. Yu stopped when he saw that he was going well, and replied with an, understood, look, then gave Makarov a look that said, it's all right, and changed the subject. Old man, don't ask this. Let's talk about the content of the third level first. Makarov's wingman immediately withdrew after receiving it, saying, the third level test will be tomorrow, and we will talk about the content tomorrow. You can rest today. Hearing that she could rest, Urza's IQ suddenly came online, and she quickly said, when I was looking for the token, I found a kind of monster with delicious meat inside. I'll go catch it, you guys wait here for me. After saying that, Urza broke free from Yu's hand and immediately ran into the forest. It was obvious that she was extremely shy and wanted to be alone for a while. At night, Urza showed off her cooking skills and made Yu and the other two eat to their heart's content. Now there is one more reason to pursue Urza. After dinner, Yu took out 2 deck chairs and lay on the beach with Makarov to bask in the moonlight and drink ice drinks. Urza was taken away by Mira and went back to the room on the ship to chat. Later, Yu learned from Urza that Mira and Urza were chatting about herself. The first half of the night was spent analyzing Yu, and the second half was spent discussing what life would be like after being with Yu. It was the first time for the two to discuss this topic. They would blush and their heartbeats would quicken from time to time, but they still couldn't help but want to talk, and didn't fall asleep until dawn. Old man, I didn't expect you to have the talent of a wingman. Your companionship in front was really great, Yu praised Makarov. Of course, when I was young, I was the best wingman in the guild, Makarov boasted loudly. I think you, old man, are still the first wingman. If you need it, you have to help me, Yu continued to flatter. No problem, but since I'm doing you such a big favor, do you have to buy me a drink? Makarov took the opportunity to make a small request. Plenty of good wine. Yu and Makarov looked at each other, and saw the smile in each other's eyes, and they immediately laughed. Ha 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 x2. After a few seconds, the two stopped at the same time. Makarov relaxed all over, but his voice became particularly serious. I'm just kidding, Yu, there are some things I need to tell you in advance. Urza is just like you. She has no relatives in this world. In addition, her special childhood experience has formed a closed heart. It is very difficult to get into Urza's heart and communicate with her, but once you get into her heart, she will cherish this person very much. And I can see that you have begun to enter her heart, entering in the way of love. You also know that Urza is a simple and persistent person. Once she falls in love with you, she will never fall in love with another person in her life. So, are you ready to bear this heavy love? Are you ready to take care of Urza for the rest of your life? Makarov, like an old father, stared at Yu closely for his daughter's lifelong happiness and asked the question he cared about most. Ready. Yu gave the most affirmative answer in the most determined voice. That's good. After getting the answer he wanted, Makarov completely relaxed. Urza was a child that he had barely watched grow up. She always acted independent and never relied on others. In fact, Makarov knew that Urza wanted to find someone to rely on, but she didn't dare to find someone for fear of being betrayed. Now Yu took the initiative to approach and take the initiative to be the support, and Urza's performance was also willing to rely on Yu. The two children became a success, and Makarov could let go of his heart. The next day, early in the morning, just after Yu and Makarov had finished breakfast, they saw another ship coming in the distance, heading towards this nameless island. When the ship got closer, Yu saw a man standing on the bow, Laxus, Makarov's grandson, who passed the S-level assessment last year. At this time, Makarov stood up and announced, "The assessment of the third level is to last half an hour in Laxus's hands." Upon hearing this assessment requirement, Yu widened his eyes and looked at Makarov in surprise, his eyes revealing, "Are you serious?" Makarov knew his own strength. As long as he went all out, Laxus would not be his opponent, so Yu couldn't understand why the assessment would be like this. Makarov didn't want this to happen, so he leaned close to Yu's ear and explained, S-level wizards have the power to interfere in the S-level promotion assessment to help improve the assessment content. The third level was proposed by Laxus. I thought the content of the test was okay, so I agreed. Now is the perfect time. You are good at speaking. Please help me persuade Laxus to communicate more with the guild members and not stay alone all the time. I'll try my best. Yu felt that he couldn't help with this favor. Chatting couldn't win Laxus back. The reason why Laxus acted like this was that he wanted Makarov to pay more attention to him, not to be unsociable. Laxus had no mother since he was a child, and his father was a scumbag who never cared about Laxus. Only Makarov knew his relatives around him. But Makarov was very selfless, and he loved all the children in the guild as if they were his own grandchildren. So many people shared Makarov's love, resulting in very little love for Laxus. Laxus compared himself. He was a grandson, only had a little care from his grandfather, but others had a lot. Who could bear this? Who would be balanced in their hearts? So Laxus thought of pretending to be withdrawn to attract Makarov's attention, but it didn't work. The subsequent fairy tale civil war was also caused by Laxus's desire to attract Makarov's attention. As long as everyone in the guild gets out, Grandpa can only pay attention to me alone, laughs. The fairy laws used in the later civil war also indirectly proved Laxus's inner thoughts. You are the one who will take the third level test? Laxus asked as his ship approached. Yes, that's me. Yu has been in the guild for more than half a year, but he has not talked with Laxus many times. Apart from the guild, there is no other contact point between the two of them in their life trajectory. You can go to the island now to find a favorable terrain, set traps and so on, and the assessment will start in 10 minutes, Laxus said arrogantly. As for Yu, the person who attracted Makarov the most in the past 6 months, Laxus had long wanted to beat him up to let him know that Makarov's attention was not so easy to get. No need, let's take a beach farther away as the battle site. Yu refused directly and did not accept Laxus's proposal. To deal with Laxus of this age, it doesn't matter where you fight, why bother making it so complicated? Humph, giving up favorable conditions. Arrogant. If you go out to take on a commission like this, you will definitely get yourself killed. Remember when you die, don't say you are a fairy tale wizard. The guild can't afford to lose this person. Laxus said to Yu in dissatisfaction. Ah, right, Yu said casually. Laxus is really not cute now, he is only arrogant but not delicate. He reminds others not to be arrogant and to be cautious, but he is so hard. HMPH. Laxus became even more unhappy with Yu's perfunctory attitude, but he didn't say anything more. He turned into a flash of lightning and headed for the beach first. Yu gathered magic power in his legs, jumped hard, and chased Laxus from the boat. Not long after, the two came to a place 3 miles away from Makarov. After standing still, golden arcs began to flash on Laxus' body, and his momentum surged violently. He said loudly, "Come on, I'll show you what an S-class wizard is. Then I won't be polite." The magic power in Yu's body began to boil, and his spiritual perception began to. Light-shaping magic. Eye of light. Light-shape magic. 10,000 swords facing the master. Yu started with the Eye of Light. At the same time, he chose to use quantity to test the opponent, Laxus, who had both A-level strength and speed. Facing a situation with limited vision and countless long swords flying towards him, Laxus was not panicked at all, only calm. Tremble under the power of thunder, multiple lightning strikes. Countless lightning suddenly appeared in the sky and struck down, destroying the long sword and the Eye of Light. If Yi Yu hadn't sensed it in advance and stepped back directly, he would have been struck by lightning. What a hassle, Yi Yu complained. Elemental magic, thunder, is one of the magics that Laxus has mastered. It is powerful, can attack in groups, has a fast casting speed, and can also achieve similar elemental transformation. What is the difference between this and eating the ringing fruit? Fortunately, Yi Yu is not a pushover, and immediately changed his mind and fought in close combat. According to Laxus's character, he will not avoid such a direct confrontation. Light shape magic, flame dragon armor. Yi Yu put on a white flame dragon armor and summoned flowing blade Jakka, controlling the flames to wrap around the blade and rushing towards Laxus. Come on, lightning suit. Laxus concentrated his magic power on his entire body, thus covering it with magic power and lightning, activating his body and increasing his attack power, defense power, and speed. Lightning fist. Laxus's hands were wrapped in more violent lightning, and his bare hands collided with the flowing blade like fire. The chop was blocked, but Yi Yu did not hesitate at all, and exerted force again, chopping the second knife at a faster speed. The battle of macho men does not pay attention to details, and standing on the spot is a passionate fight. It's quite a kind of ola 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 ola. Muda 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 muda. After dozens of rounds of fighting, Laxus's hands had been burned by flames. Yi Yu had the flame dragon armor, and all the lightning that flowed over was blocked. Yi Yu was wearing armor and holding a knife, so Laxus was at a greater disadvantage in the fight on the spot. Laxus also understood that if this continued, it would not be a question of whether Yi Yu could hold on for half an hour and pass the test, but whether his hands would be useless. So Laxus began to change his strategy, turned into a flash of lightning, stepped back a distance, and began to chant a spell. What resounded through the sky was the roar of summoning thunder and lightning, which fell from the sky, turning everything into ashes, thunder and lightning raging like waves. A large amount of thunder and lightning appeared above Yi Yu's head, and in a few seconds formed a huge 50-meter sphere, exuding a breath of annihilation, and was about to hit Yi Yu fiercely. Yi Yu also understood that the next battle could not be played around, and he had to take it seriously. Everything in the universe turns to ashes, and the flowing blade is like fire. Torch. Countless terrifying flames rose from Yi Yu's body, forming a huge flame column, which collided with the thunder ball in the air. Instantly, the shock wave of the collision of the two forces spread all around, directly clearing a corner of the forest near the explosion point and turning it into a flat land. Makarov, who was far away, saw this fierce collision and couldn't help but sighed. It's really the waves behind pushing the waves ahead. When I was this age, I wasn't so powerful. President, what happened? What's going on with this magical fluctuation? Urza and Mira were awakened by the collision of magical power at this time, and hurried out of the room and asked Makarov. This is Yi Yu taking the third-level test. We just need to wait here. This is what happened. The movement is really intense, Mira said. Urza walked to the edge of the deck and looked in the direction of Yi Yu, feeling a little worried. Come on, Yi Yu. The collision between fire and lightning ended quickly with fire winning. The flame column burned up the lightning and then rose up to the sky, turning the sky red. Is this your strength? No wonder Grandpa thinks so highly of you. Laxus shouted loudly. Then he felt the terrifying high temperature surrounding him. Although there was no flame, Laxus still felt a burning sensation. Instantly, Laxus understood that if he could not resolve the battle in a short time, Yi Yu would drag him to death even if he stood still. You still have one last chance to attack, Laxus, Yi Yu said calmly. You guy. Yi Yu's calm attitude made Laxus very angry. He was like an adult saying to a child, I'll let you run 10 meters first. But the fire burning all over Yi Yu's body kept telling him that this man might be telling the truth. Laxus felt even more angry about the result he got, but there was nothing he could do. Now he could only give it a try. Dragon Slayer Secret Art, Thunderbolt. Laxus gathered all his magic power, and the brightest lightning burst out from his body. This was Laxus' strongest attack now. Songming. At the moment of drawing the sword, the flowing blade spewed out a large amount of flames, forming a fire tornado of 100 meters in size, which swept Laxus into it and burned him madly. The terrifying temperature of the flames caused the sand under Yi Yu's feet to begin to crystallize, turning from a beach into a crystal beach. Feeling that Laxus in the fire tornado had lost his resistance, Yi Yu took the initiative to dispel the fire tornado. After all, it was a test of actual combat, so how could he use heavy hands? After the flames dissipated, Laxus lay naked on the ground and fainted. All his clothes were burned off, all his hair was gone, and there were many minor burns. Yi Yu turned Laxus over and observed him. There were no other injuries. Very satisfied, the training in the past 6 months has not been in vain, and the flames are well controlled. Take out a piece of cloth from the space ring, put it on Laxus's lower body, and then take out Yi Yu's precious magenta camera. Click. Black history photo +1 +2 +3 +4 +5 +6. Until Yi Yu was satisfied with every angle, he carried Laxus on his shoulders and returned to the boat docked at the island. Old man, it's over. Yi Yu jumped onto the deck and laid Laxus down. Makarov immediately stepped forward and nervously checked Laxus. He breathed a sigh of relief when he found that there was no serious injury. Don't worry, old man, I know my limits. In just a few days, your grandson will be back to normal. Yi Yu looked at Makarov's nervous expression and found it a little funny. He was always serious when facing Laxus on weekdays, and only at this time would he express his feelings for his grandson. The grandfather and grandson were cut from the same mold, and neither of them was good at expressing their feelings to their relatives. Makarov took a deep breath, quickly calmed down, and said, "You passed the 3rd level test. This S-class wizard promotion test shows me that your observation, intelligence, strength and your heart have all reached the standard of an S-class wizard. Congratulations, Yi Yu, for becoming the 4th fairy tale S-class wizard." Makarov loudly announced the result of this assessment. Congratulations X2, Urza and Mira also congratulated. I was able to become an S-class wizard so quickly, all thanks to your good teaching, old man, thank you very much. Yi Yu ignored the system prompt in his mind and thanked Makarov first. What does this have to do with me? It's the result of your own hard work, Makarov said with a smile. If you have made a contribution, don't refuse. I will treat you to a drink when we get back. After Yi Yu finished talking to Makarov, he whispered in Urza's ear, I haven't forgotten that you taught me swordsmanship and have made a contribution. I will treat you to a strawberry cake when we get back. Where is it? Yi Yu's intimate actions made Urza feel shy. She blushed and spoke in a low voice. There is no need to refuse because of our relationship. Yi Yu stood beside Urza and took her hand. Urza's head started to steam again, her heartbeat started to speed up, her IQ started to drop, and she didn't know how to answer. She could only say a cute woo as an answer. Seeing Urza's cute appearance, Yi Yu's love for her deepened a little bit. Grandpa, let's go back to the guild. I can't wait to tell everyone that I became an S-class wizard. Well, let's return. Fairy Tale Guild. I'm back. Yi Yu kicked the door open and shouted. You should be careful about how you develop this bad habit. The gate is free, why kick it so hard? Makarov said unhappily from behind. Isn't this a happy thing? I won't go down there anymore, Yi Yu admitted strangely, but the feeling of kicking the door was really good, no wonder Natsu liked to kick it. Seeing Yi Yu and his friends coming back, the people in the guild immediately surrounded them and asked them questions. Who among you has become an S-class wizard? Is it Urza? I bet 10,000 J on her. Yes, who is it? I bet 20,000 J million. I, 15,000, Yi Yu. Makarov walked to the center of the guild, clapped his hands, and announced, the final winner of this S-class wizard assessment is, Yi Yu. Oh, Yi Yu won, long live. My 20,000 J. After Makarov announced, those who didn't bet and those who won cheered, and those who lost wailed and joined the cheering team. My friends, let's have a party to celebrate Yi Yu becoming an S-class wizard. Makarov waved his hand and started the carnival. It's time to have a party. The guild cheered. As soon as Yi Yu and Urza sat at the bar, a group of people gathered around to chat. Yi Yu, you are only 13 years old this year. You are probably the only one in this continent to become an S-class wizard at such a young age, said Macau. Yes, for people like us who have been stuck at A rank for so many years, I'm afraid we won't have the chance to become S rank wizards in this lifetime, Wakaba echoed. Yi Yu, let's duel tomorrow. If I defeat you, I will also be an S-class wizard. It sounds like what Natsu said. Stop kidding, you stinking flame. You can't even beat me, how can you possibly beat Yu? Wherever Natsu makes a fuss, there will be Gray to confront him. Gray knew how strong Yu was. In the first 6 months, Yu started by asking Gray for advice on shaping magic. But within a month, it became an equal exchange, and then it was Gray asking Yu for advice. Faced with this terrifying speed of progress, Gray's mentality was unbalanced. He only recovered his composure after Makarov fed him several bowls of chicken soup. Later, Gray found that despite Yu's excellent talent, he still practiced and studied very hard, and he gradually began to admire Yu. Brother Yu, you are not injured in this assessment, right? Kana handed a glass of juice to Yu and asked worriedly. Yu took the juice, touched Kana's head, and said, "No, there is no danger in this assessment, it is very safe." Hey, that's good. I knew that brother Yu was the best. He became an S-class wizard so easily, Kana said with a smile while holding one of Yu's hands. Urza looked at Kana holding Yu's hand as usual, and a strange emotion that had never appeared before rose in her heart, and she felt an indescribable discomfort. Although Yu was handsome and courageous, he had never been in love since he was a child, and he did not notice Urza's abnormality. If he said he had never been in love, it was also because Yu's sister and mother were too beautiful. They were both stunningly beautiful. Yu grew up watching these two faces, so how could he like ordinary women? Only Urza, who was considered top-notch in the second dimension, could make Yu open his mind and think about falling in love. Happy times are always short, and the banquet was over soon. In the second half of the banquet, Yu found an opportunity and secretly took Urza away in advance. Yu forcibly held Urza's hand and walked on the path. Urza could not refuse Yu, so she could only let Yu hold her hand, blushing and walking side by side. Why are you hiding from me today and not saying a word to me? Don't you like me? Yu pretended to be sad and asked. Seeing Yu sad, the simple Urza quickly explained, No. I just didn't talk to you because I haven't figured out how to answer you. Urza. Yu stopped, looked at Urza tenderly, and said apologetically, I'm sorry, I put too much pressure on you. If you can't think of an answer, then we can just get along as usual. You can give me an answer later if you figure it out. After all, liking you is my business, and I shouldn't make you feel embarrassed. Urza's eyes turned red, and tears welled up in her eyes. It's great to have someone who tolerates and understands me. Well, give me a little time, I will tell you and answer you, Urza said in a very serious tone. Seeing Urza like this, Yu hugged her in his arms out of heartache. A happy childhood heals a lifetime, and an unhappy childhood heals a lifetime. The Tower of Paradise is a huge wound in Urza's heart. If it is not healed, Urza will not dare to take the last step and will always keep a distance from others. Urza did not resist Yu's sudden hug, but closed her eyes, lay on Yu's chest, listened to her heartbeat, slowly relaxed and calmed down. The two hugged each other on the path, no one was talking, enjoying this beautiful moment. Until someone passed by, Yu and Urza came to their senses and separated the hug. Urza, can you agree to a small request of mine? On the path, the two of them were walking back to the dormitory. Yu held Urza's hand and asked carefully. What's your request? Since she heard Yu's heartbeat just now, Urza no longer blushes or gets nervous when Yu holds her hand. Next time when we hug, can you please not wear armor? You don't know, just now when I was holding you, I was pressed by this armor, it was cold and hard, very uncomfortable. I feel quite comfortable wearing armor. Urza moved her body and did not feel any discomfort in wearing armor. Is this a matter of comfort or not? This is a matter of whether two hearts can communicate well. Listen to me, don't wear armor when you hug me next time, Yu said in a serious tone. Okay, I'll listen to you. Seeing Yu's request, Urza had to agree, but she still felt that wearing armor was not uncomfortable, and she could still fight and resist. After sending Urza back to the girls' dormitory, Yu returned to the boys' dormitory, washed up, glanced at the clock, it was 10:28, and then he lay down on the bed and closed his eyes. System. I am. Receive mission rewards. System. Okay. Become an S-class magician, mission completed. Mission reward. Magician talent enhancement, issuing. A cool feeling swept through Yu's body, and he felt like he had flown to heaven, as if there was a cool stream in summer, constantly washing his soul. After an unknown amount of time, Yu felt as if he had made a breakthrough, and his whole body became particularly relaxed. His originally vague perception of magic power became clearer. It was like going from 800-degree myopia to 5.0, and the properties of magic power and the direction of its flow were all clearly perceived. Mission rewards have been distributed. Hearing the system's prompt tone, Yu opened his eyes and glanced at the clock on the bedside table. It was 10:28, and the time had hardly moved. The system was still strong. Yu stretched out his hand, ready to see how much his magic talent had been enhanced. Light-shaping magic. Magnolia. A shrinking city began to be slowly constructed in Yu's hands, and every detail began to be enriched bit by bit. In the end, it collapsed when it was 50% complete. It was so terrifying that Yu was afraid of his enhanced talent. Is this still a human? With such a strong talent, how can others survive? Oh, this person is me, that's okay. Yu didn't expect the system to be so powerful. If it is strengthened twice, Yu has the confidence to build a city in a place the size of a chip. With stronger talents, Yu also picked up some ideas that were thrown away before. Light-shaping magic is a symbol. It meets the requirements of Yu's innate magic, but Yu feels that it is only the most suitable one among the hundreds of thousands of magic books. It is not the most suitable one for Yu among all the magic. But it is too difficult to find the magic that best suits Yu in the entire fairy tale world. If one way is blocked, then try another one and create the most suitable magic. In the past, Yu made rapid progress in light-shaping magic, but when he tried to learn other magics, he found that the progress was so slow, so he didn't think about creating his own magic. After all, he didn't have enough talent. Now that his talent has been strengthened, it would be a waste if he didn't create his own magic, which is a heinous crime. Ding. System. New mission discovered. Would you like to accept it? Become one of the 10 holy mages. Mission description. Become one of the 10 holy mages within 2 years. Mission reward. Water of life 10 drops. Water of life. Contains powerful vitality. Just 1 drop can bring back the dead, turn flesh and bones into flesh. Get it? Yu said to the system in his mind. 1 more drop of water of life means 1 more life. With it, my mother no longer has to worry about my sudden death. And Urza has an artificial eye. The water of life can make Urza recover, so Yu is determined to get this reward. System. Successfully received. Open the task list. Become one of the 10 holy mages. Complete an SS task. Task reward. Spiritual power training method. Earn 100 million J. Task reward. Book magic device production. Now that I have become an S-class wizard, I can finally take on SS-class tasks. Once I get the spiritual power training method, I can increase the range of my spiritual perception at a high speed without having to wait for it to grow naturally. Moreover, the improvement of spiritual power will help the speed of magic practice and the mastery of the flowing blade Jakka, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The task of making money can also be accelerated. In the past 6 months, Yu has earned more than 30 million J. After completing the task of earning 10 million J, he obtained the teleportation potion. Teleportation potion. After drinking it, you can return to a place you have been to before. 30 million J capital is enough to buy a small newspaper and develop Yu's business blueprint. Yu plans to go to Makarov tomorrow. Whether it is to create magic or buy a newspaper, he needs his help. Now, the most important thing is to get rid of all kinds of emotions and get a good night's sleep, so that there will be no mistakes tomorrow. Yu's ability to sleep as soon as he sticks to the bed immediately takes effect, and he fell asleep in less than a minute. The next morning, after Yu finished breakfast, he bought some comfort items on the street and came to Magnolia Hospital. Good morning, Laxus, are you feeling better? Yu came to the ward and greeted. What are you doing here? Are you going to laugh at me? Laxus leaned against the head of the bed and said gloomily. Being defeated by someone younger than him, and in front of his grandfather, was unacceptable to Laxus. How could that be? I just came here to talk to you. Yu put down the gifts and said calmly. Humph, I have nothing to talk to you about, Laxus said in a very aggressive tone. Really, I wanted to talk to you about how to attract other people's attention. Since you don't want to talk, forget it, Yu said as if he was about to get up and leave. Ahem, if you really want to chat, it's not that I can't chat with you for a while. Laxus' cheeks flushed, he coughed, and stiffly changed his words. Seeing Laxus's standard tsunere, Yi Yu's mouth corners twisted, then he regained his composure and tried not to laugh. Yi Yu took 2 deep breaths, suppressed all the smiles, and said seriously, Laxus, let me ask you first, do you know how to attract other people's relationships? Laxus. Silent face. Yi Yu knew the answer as soon as he saw his expression. No wonder he was so stiff in getting along with Makarov. I'd better talk about how to attract other people's attention first. Yi Yu took the initiative to speak, otherwise Laxus might be silent for a day. First, if you want to be noticed, you can't be a loner. For example, if you choose a location to open a restaurant, the 2 places will attract different attention, such as on a busy street or deep in a harbor alley. If you choose the wrong place, your restaurant will be ruined. So, if you want to be noticed, you have to stand out and not be aloof. Second, if you want to be noticed, you must communicate. It's the same thing. You open a store on a busy street and others also open one. How can you attract more attention than them? That is to shout and communicate with the people you are following. When people are stopped by you to communicate, they naturally have no time to visit other stores. Therefore, if you want to be noticed, you must communicate, and communicate frequently. Third, if you want to be noticed, you must think from other people's perspective. It's the same. After communicating, you have to think about why others pay attention to you or not pay attention to you, and what is the reason. Only by knowing the reasons can we better develop our own advantages or optimize our own shortcomings, so as to attract more attention from others. Look at me, I am so attractive because I have achieved these 3 points. Yi Yu made up a lot of words, all of which were to fool Laxus. The core idea of expressing strength is to let Laxus not be withdrawn, communicate more with Makarov, and at the same time think from Makarov's perspective and understand Makarov's difficulties. Laxus nodded frequently after listening to the whole process, thinking that what Yi Yu, the popular king of the guild, said made sense. Seeing that Laxus had absorbed it perfectly, Yi Yu felt that he could retire and go back to Makarov to take credit. Laxus, I have something else to do, so I'm leaving now. I'll come see you later when I'm free. Yi Yu said hello and was about to leave. Well, take care. After being fooled, Laxus' attitude towards Yi Yu changed immediately and he became much more polite. In fact, Yi Yu had something in his heart that he hadn't told Laxus yet, fearing that he wouldn't be able to accept it. Actually, those 3 points are not important. As long as you are as handsome as me, people will pay attention to you wherever you go. If Laxus said this, he would probably treat Yi Yu to a Dragon Slayer secret technique. If he was not full, he would have a second one. Fairy Tale Guild. Yi Yu kicked the door open and walked in. Where is the old man? Where did he go? Yi Yu entered the guild and looked around, but did not see Makarov. The president is in the office, you can go in and find him, said the waiter at the bar. Okay, thank you. Yi Yu pushed open the door of the office and walked in. Makarov was sitting at his desk, processing documents. When he heard the door open, he looked up and saw that it was Yi Yu. He lowered his head again and said, "What are you doing here? If you want to accept an S-level mission, go to the 2nd floor and choose. Once you have chosen, go through it for me." "Hey, I came to see you, I must have something else to do." Yi Yu moved a stool and sat opposite Makarov. "Tell me, what trouble do you need my help with?" Makarov put down the documents in his hand and looked up at Yi Yu. "First, I want to enter the guild's library to learn new magic. Second, do you have any channels? I want to buy a newspaper company with a capital of 30 million. Also, I want to take SS-level missions, but there are only S-level missions on the 2nd floor." Yi Yu said all his requests in one go. Makarov touched his chin, thought for a while and said, "As long as you become an S-level wizard, you can enter the guild's library at any time. I'll tell you the method later. As for the newspaper, although I don't know what you want to do, I have some connections and can help you find out. But you can't accept SS-level missions yet. You have enough strength, but not enough experience. Go and complete some S-level missions first." "Okay, no problem, thank you, old man," Yi Yu agreed with a smile. Before coming, Yi Yu guessed that Makarov would not let himself, who had little experience in S-level missions, take SS-level missions. For Makarov, the mission is not important, what is important is the safety of the children. Makarov will not let anyone do any mission that is beyond the children's ability. After half a year, Yi Yu once again came to the guild's magic library through the teleportation array. There were hundreds of thousands of magic books, and just listing the catalog would be dazzling. Yi Yu had to learn enough magic in it to lay a solid foundation for creating his own magic. On the first day, I want to read 100 simple magic books, and then go to the back mountain to experiment and see how fast I can learn magic. Yi Yu planned today's schedule in his mind. Yi Yu found the catalog of the magic library, selected the magic he needed to learn, and took out the artifact, Wind Singing Eyes, to start reading. It took Yi Yu almost 2 hours to come out of the magic library. As soon as he walked out of the office, he ran into Urza and Mira. They were standing in front of the guild's commission column. Good morning, are you guys picking tasks? Yi Yu came forward to greet him. Urza and Mira nodded in response when they saw Yi Yu coming over. Yes, this S-rank assessment has made us realize our own shortcomings. We are ready to take on a subjugation mission to improve our actual combat skills, Urza said calmly as before. As promised on the path yesterday, they returned to their previous state of getting along. I see, then I will be taking on an S-level mission in a few days, do you want to team up with me? Urza rejected Yi Yu's proposal and said, no, if I keep doing missions by your side and being taken care of by you, how can I grow? That's right, but since you're not teaming up with me, keep this. Yi Yu took out the teleportation potion from the space ring and handed it to Urza. This is a teleportation potion I got by chance. After drinking it, you can choose a place you have been to and teleport there. After listening to Yi Yu's introduction, Urza looked at the powerful golden potion in her hand and immediately wanted to return it to Yi Yu. But she paused as soon as she stretched out her hand. After thinking about it, she accepted the teleportation potion. If I encounter danger that I can't handle in the future, I will drink it, Urza said with a blush on her cheeks. Seeing Urza directly accept the teleportation potion, Yi Yu knew that their relationship had become closer, and asked happily, have you chosen the mission? Do you need my help to consult? I've chosen it. I'll go back and prepare. We'll set off in a moment. Urza tore off the commission she had long been eyeing, went to the bar to verify it, and then ran away. Now when Yi Yu saw Urza, his eyes became burning and full of emotion. Being stared at like this, Urza couldn't stand it. In addition, she took the teleportation potion that Yi Yu cared about, and her shyness exploded. She couldn't keep getting along with Yi Yu in a normal way anymore, so she could only run away shyly. Hey, what's your relationship now? Mira, who had been eating melon for a long time, poked Yi Yu with her elbow and asked curiously. More than friends, less than lovers. What, you two were hugging each other yesterday, why hasn't it happened yet? I was going to announce your relationship to everyone today, Mira said a little frustrated. What, you saw everything that happened yesterday? Yi Yu was very surprised. He didn't notice yesterday that there was someone nearby staring at him and Urza. Yesterday you only had eyes for each other, so you couldn't see anyone else. I followed you guys until the end after you guys slipped away, Mira said jokingly. Haha, let's not talk about this anymore. Have you chosen your crusade mission? Do you want me to help you with your advice? Yi Yu laughed dryly and changed the subject directly. He didn't want to continue to be passive in social death. Forget it, I won't tease you anymore. I have already selected the commission task and will set off soon. By the way, I kept your relationship a secret and didn't tell anyone else, so you should be the first to tell me. Mira bowed to Yi Yu's shoulder and raised her eyebrows, looking like she was going to have the first bite of the melon. Okay, and thank you. Sure enough, no matter which world we are in, it is human nature to gossip. However, Yi Yu discovered that Mira was very thoughtful when she was a little girl. She could see the problems with Urza and knew that if Yi Yu told her about her, it would put pressure on her. Thinking about it this way, Mira always provokes Urza, maybe she wants to help Urza integrate into the guild. Looking at Mira who was going to do the task, and then looking at the noisy guild members around, it is really great to be able to travel to Fairy Tale. A few days later, in the back mountain, Yi Yu sat on a stone and sorted out the magic he had learned recently. Yi Yu could use hundreds of common magics after reading them once. The talent strengthened by the system was even more powerful than Yi Yu believed. This gave Yi Yu enough confidence in the magic he would create later. For his own magic, Yi Yu was going to go in the direction of hexagons, and he must also know high-level magic. Yi Yu jumped down from the stone and prepared to return to the guild's library to find a magic book that could serve as the foundation for his own magic. Crushing magic, gravity magic, elimination magic, elemental magic, thunder, wind, water, earth, thunder, dragon slayer magic, wood god slayer magic. Yi Yu held a special catalog in his hand, which recorded hundreds of top magics, many of which were considered lost by the outside world. Yi Yu did not expect that there would be so many top magics in the magic library of the guild. It was indeed a guild that could create the 3 super magics and the eternal magic fairy's heart. Only with such a strong foundation can it be done. Yi Yu looked at each of the magics above and his saliva was about to flow out, but these magics all had a shortcoming, which was to pick people. They were different from the kind of magic that anyone could learn. As long as the person was not suitable, no matter how talented he was, he could not learn it. Except for the Dragon Slayer magic, it could be learned by implanting the Dragon Slayer magic crystal. Yi Yu did not think that his enhanced talent could learn all the magics above, so he had to disassemble and analyze them. After understanding the magic, he would discard the dross and take the essence, and then create a powerful magic that best suited him based on himself. Yi Yu looked at the catalog in his hand, and after careful consideration, he decided to use the dragon slaying and god slaying magic as the most basic blueprint. The most special thing about these 2 kinds of magic is that they can eat matter or magic power of the same attribute, or even different attributes. After eating, they can restore magic power and temporarily strengthen themselves. If you learn this, you can develop other directions, such as making a magic version of the 6 treasury Immortal Thief, which adds blood, mana, and life. Or you can make a magic version of the Burning Decree, which eats fire to become stronger, eats fire and becomes stronger again, and takes off directly. Thinking of this beautiful future, Yi Yu smiled, raised his hand, slowly clenched his fist, and said, I want them all. Study time always flies by, and 10 days have passed in a blink of an eye. Yi Yu, come to the office for a moment. Makarov transmitted the voice to Yi Yu's ears through the fixed magic circle of the magic library. After hearing this, Yi Yu put down the half-studied book, Thunder Dragon Slayer Magic. The complexity of Dragon Slayer magic far exceeded Yi Yu's imagination. Basically, there were points that Yi Yu didn't understand on every page. In the past 10 days, Yi Yu spent most of his time looking up information, otherwise he couldn't read it at all. Is this the difference between making a pistol and using a pistol? The former is complicated and difficult, while the latter only requires pulling the trigger. Yi Yu took off his Feng Yang glasses and put them down carefully. If it weren't for them in the past 10 days, he would not have made even 10 pages in studying Dragon Slayer magic. In terms of reading books, I recognize you. I, Yi Yu, would like to call you the strongest. Master, what's the matter? Yi Yu asked as he opened the office door. I already have the information about the newspaper you asked me to find out. It is a newspaper that has been established for 5 years and sells newspapers in all the first-tier cities in the Kingdom of Fury. Makarov handed Yi Yu a piece of paper with the basic information of the newspaper. Yi Yu took a look at it and threw it away. Except for the total amount of losses, the other data was either useless or unclear. It was completely rubbish. Old man, this newspaper is a huge scam. Is there a better one? Don't worry, it still has its advantages. Makarov waved his hand and asked Yi Yu to continue listening. First, the boss of this newspaper lost money in gambling and urgently needed money to save his life, so he could buy it for a cheap price of 20 million yen. Second, the contracts for various channels of his company still have 3 years left, and the cost effectiveness of the contract is quite high, so you don't need to redo it. Third, this newspaper is in Magnolia, on the street to the right of the guild. Yi Yu raised his eyebrows and gave Makarov an expression of, that's it. How could these 3 points be worth 20 million J? Makarov said calmly. When this newspaper was first established, it bought a 600 square meter 3-story building as an office. Hearing this, Yi Yu's eyes widened immediately, and he asked excitedly, does this mean that this newspaper and this building together only cost 20 million J? Yes, that's right. Is it really that cheap? That 600 square meter building alone is more than 20 million J, Yi Yu asked curiously. As a first-tier city in the Kingdom of Fury, the housing prices in Magnolia have always been expensive. It is impossible to buy a 600 square meter building so close to the Fairy Tale Guild in the city center for 20 million. It's true. Makarov's expression began to become serious, and he introduced to Yi Yu. The boss of this newspaper lost everything in gambling and owed a lot of high-interest loans to the casino. Now he only had this newspaper. He originally wanted to sell the newspaper and the house to pay off the loan sharks, but the casino secretly spread the word that whoever took over the newspaper would be against them. The newspaper owner saw that no one was willing to take over and the repayment date for the casino loan shark was getting closer and closer, so he could only keep lowering the price in order to sell it out quickly. After all, if the loan sharks are not repaid, the casino will kill you. The casino did all this to make him default on the payment, so that they could buy the building at a bargain price. Yi Yu hammered his palm and said, I see, no wonder it's so cheap. Old man, where is the newspaper owner? I'm going to buy a newspaper now. Makarov pointed to the right, turn right and go 300 meters. When you see the Maple Leaf newspaper, just go in. The newspaper owner has been in there recently. Okay, Yi Yu rushed out of the door in a swift and decisive manner. Knock, 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 is anyone there? Yi Yu knocked on the door and shouted. This was a simple medieval European building, the only feature of which was a red maple leaf printed on the door. Not long after, a thin, middle-aged man wearing a shabby suit, with a stubble on his face and looking very haggard, knocked on the door. Who are you? My name is Yi Yu, and I'm here to see the owner of Maple Leaf newspaper, Yi Yu replied. I am the owner of Maple Leaf newspaper, Bella. May I ask why you are here to see me? Bella looked at the handsome boy she met for the first time and was curious about why he came to see her. I am a wizard of the Fairy Tale Guild. I heard by chance that you were going to sell the newspaper, so I came to ask. If the price is right, I will buy it. Yi Yu didn't waste any words and directly stated his purpose. Hearing that he was here to buy the newspaper, Bella immediately became energetic, the haggardness on her face also retreated, and she showed an extremely enthusiastic smile. It turned out to be a wizard from the famous Fairy Tale Guild. Come in, come in. Yi Yu followed Bella into the newspaper office. Shaking his head left and right to observe, the newspaper office was a bit messy, with past issues of Maple Leaf newspapers and some materials randomly placed on the table, and no one cleaned them up. Yi Yu activated his spiritual perception and scanned the area. Apart from Bella, the boss, there was not even a single employee in the newspaper office. It seemed that they all ran away. Bella led Yi Yu to sit on the sofa in the living room on the first floor, made a cup of black tea as a treat, and took out various channel transfer contracts and house title transfer contracts that had been prepared early in the morning. Then he said, Mr. Yi Yu, I believe that since you came to me to buy a newspaper, you should know my situation, so I won't waste time. Take a look at these contracts. There are absolutely no traps. The newspaper office has some other information. If you want to see it, I'll get it. As for the house, I'll also take you around. I guarantee there will be no problems. If you think it is suitable, you can buy it, and then you can sell the house later and buy another one. It is not a problem to double the 20 million yen. Bella explained everything to Yi Yu enthusiastically and frankly, fearing that Yi Yu would not buy the newspaper if he was not satisfied. Yi Yu took a sip of black tea and looked at the dozen contracts in front of him. He felt that he came too hastily and should find some professionals to help take a look. Yi Yu thought for a while, put down the black tea, and said, I see Mr. Bella's sincerity. So, I will go back and find some people to take a look at the contract, information and house. If there is no problem, we can reach a deal tomorrow. Hearing that Yi Yu wanted to buy, Bella became excited instantly. No problem, Mr. Yi Yu can find someone to come at any time. I am at the newspaper 24 hours a day and can cooperate with the inspection at any time. Since we have agreed, I will go back to find someone first. Yi Yu stood up and was about to go back to the guild. I'll see you off. Bella immediately stood up and respectfully escorted Yi Yu out of the newspaper office. After leaving the newspaper office, Yi Yu did not return to the guild, but walked towards the cake shop, ready to buy 2 strawberry cakes to reward himself. On the way, Yi Yu muttered to himself, I didn't expect that the newspaper office would be so smooth, and it was done in just a few words after sitting down. Yi Yu walked out of the cake shop and found a group of big men with, I am from the Black Society, written on their faces walking towards him, surrounding him in 3 layers inside and outside. Boy, don't you know that the House of Maple Leaf newspaper has been taken by our casino? If you want to buy it, you are against us. A leader among the big men stood in front of Yi Yu and threatened fiercely. Are you sure you want to cause trouble for me? I am a wizard of the Fairy Tale Guild. Yi Yu stretched out his right forearm to show the guild emblem and said lightly. Hearing Yi Yu's words, the leading man's face immediately froze, and after carefully observing the emblem and confirming it was true, his face became amiable in a second. Ahahaha, it turns out that this guy is a wizard from the Fairy Tale Guild. What a misunderstanding, what a misunderstanding. We recognize the wrong person. Well, my boss has something else to talk to us about, so I'm leaving now. I won't bother you anymore. Bye. The group of big men all became harmless, waved goodbye to Yi Yu, and then ran away. Sure enough, the name of the guild is used in Magnolia, and the trouble was solved in one go, Yi Yu muttered, and returned to the guild. The next day, Yi Yu took 2 knowledgeable professionals to the Maple Leaf newspaper. After 2 hours of inspection, Yi Yu successfully bought the Maple Leaf newspaper and the house for 20 million J. After Bella and the 2 professionals left, Yi Yu found a stool and sat on it, put his hands behind his head, and closed his eyes. Is this the feeling of being a homeowner? It's pretty good. After feeling it for a while, Yi Yu opened his eyes. It was time to take the next step. Yi Yu planned to build Maple Leaf newspaper into a top entertainment newspaper first, and then develop it into a credible newspaper in the later stage. The first step for Maple Leaf newspaper is to find some obedient writers. Train them and teach them what is shocking writing style. If there is a topic, they will exaggerate it. If there is no topic, they will make it up. I believe that the first issue, Shocking. One of the 10 holy wizards, Makarov actually did this late at night. Men are silent and women are in tears. Will definitely quickly make Maple Leaf newspaper famous. At the same time, I am looking for some obedient novelists to teach them how to write cool articles to attract a large number of people. Readers. With 2 approaches, in this world lacking entertainment, Maple Leaf newspaper will surely dominate the world. When the scale of Maple Leaf newspaper is large enough, it can start to implant the content and ideas of luxury goods, and at the same time find some celebrities and nobles to stand for luxury goods. Traffic from all walks of life is rushing to luxury goods. Are you still afraid that it can't be done? Although Yi Yu has a good idea, the plan is not perfect yet, and it needs to be checked and supplemented bit by bit later. Now, an old man in the family is like a treasure, and gold coins are bursting, Lao Dang. Yi Yu immediately got up and returned to the guild to ask Makarov for advice and see if there is anything he can help with. After all, decades of connections don't need to be wasted. In X780, Magnolia, the Fairy Tale Guild is still as noisy as ever. Sigh, why has Urza been on quests every day recently? She hasn't accompanied me shopping for a long time, Yi Yu lazily complained while lying on the guild's bar. Do you think everyone is like you, never doing missions and spending every day in the library? Makarov said unhappily. Can you blame me for this? I have done SSS level tasks, but now they are not difficult for me. You don't want me to do the 10-year mission, so I can only stay in the library, Yi Yu said unhappily. When Guildarts comes back, you can take a 10-year mission with him and let him guide you, Makarov gave Yi Yu a positive answer. That's fine. I haven't been on a mission for 4 months. My body is about to rust. Yi Yu sat up straight when he heard the good news. Now it has been a year since Yi Yu acquired Maple Leaf newspaper. Now Maple Leaf newspaper occupies 80% of the market share of newspapers in the Kingdom of Fury, and it is the only one in the market. Recently, relying on Makarov's strong connections, a luxury goods company called Century has started. Yi Yu completed 3 system tasks, namely complete an SS level task, earn 100 million J, and earn 1 billion J. He received 3 task rewards, the Spiritual Power Training Method, the Magic Device Production Book, and the 1 billion J task reward, Water Repellent Beads. Everyone knows the effect of water repellent beads. Put it in your mouth and move freely underwater. Now the system gives the following tasks. Complete a 10-year task. Task reward. Physical Training Method. Earn 10 billion J. Task reward. Money Law. The law of money. Money will naturally come to you. After 1 year of training, Yi Yu's strength has made great progress. He has learned the method of cultivating mental power, and the range of mental perception has reached 1,000 meters. He has also developed some other uses of mental power. He has not yet developed his own innate magic, but he has created some small magic that he uses, which can be regarded as a great harvest. Only the Ryujin Jakka has not made much progress. Yi Yu's current magic power is 5 times that of when he just crossed over, but he still can't reach the threshold of Bankai. Yi Yu suddenly thought of something, turned to Makarov and asked, "Old man, are we going to take the S-class magician assessment soon?" "Yeah, you just remembered it." Makarov took a sip of wine and replied. "I was saying, I went to play with Urza this month, and she was either on a mission or on her way to a mission. I didn't see her every day. It turned out that she was going to take the S-level assessment." Yi Yu realized it belatedly. This year, only Urza and Mira can take part in the S-class wizard assessment. "I plan to let you and Laxus participate," Makarov said surprisingly, giving Yi Yu a surprise. "Me? Really?" Yi Yu stared at Makarov with shining eyes and confirmed. "Really, really, have you forgotten that S-class wizards are qualified to be examiners?" Makarov reminded. "Great," Yi Yu shouted excitedly. "Being an examiner, setting test questions, and letting people you like and friends take the test, I believe that not many people can refuse." A few days later, everyone in Fairy Tale gathered in the guild, looking at the temporary stage in front of them with burning eyes. "This exciting time has finally come this year," Wakaba said excitedly. "Yes, I wonder who will be selected this year. I should be one of them. I have worked very hard during this period." Macau was also very excited, waiting for the announcement of the candidates. "Haha, don't tease me, you can be selected, but only if you can get the ancestral tomb." As a good friend of Macau, how could Wakaba not pour cold water on Macau and make him happy? "If I can't be chosen, then you can't be chosen either. But if you want me to help you set your ancestors' graves on fire, it's not impossible. I'll do it for free," Macau retorted. Just as the two were still arguing, Makarov took Yi Yu and Laxus onto the stage. Why are Yi Yu and Laxus also on it? Is there any new move?" Everyone noticed that unlike previous years when Makarov announced it alone, this time he brought along the S-wizards from both guilds, and some were confused. Could it be that Yi Yu and Laxus are the examiners this year? Wouldn't the difficulty of the examination be twice as difficult as before? The people in the guild were discussing. "President, please announce quickly who will be selected to take the S-class wizard examination this year." Someone shouted impatiently. Makarov cleared his throat and said loudly and seriously, "Everyone, according to the rules of Fairy Tale over the years, I am now officially announcing the list of people who will take the S-class wizard examination. I announce that the candidates for the S-level assessment this year are Urza Shukuleto." The crowd's eyes followed the name and instantly focused on Urza. It's normal to have Urza. After all, she was chosen last year. She can't be absent this year. Urza smiled happily and thought to herself, "I must become an S-class wizard this year. I can't let Yi Yu widen the gap." Makarov's announcement continued. "The second is Mira Strauss. Sister Mira, you must work hard this year too." Lisina clenched her fist and cheered Mira up every day. Mira also smiled excitedly, touched Lisina's hair, and said, "Well, sister will definitely become an S-class wizard this year." After that, Mira turned around and raised her fist to Urza provocatively. "Urza, I will definitely become an S-class wizard this year, just wait to hide in someone's arms and cry." This someone is naturally Yi Yula. During this year, Yi Yu and Urza often dated together, ate, went shopping, and took walks, and their relationship improved a lot. But the relationship has not been confirmed yet, and Urza is still in the stage of consideration. This made Yi Yu want to find the Tower of Paradise several times to tear it down, but after thinking about it, he decided that Urza should solve it herself, so as to heal the childhood trauma. Urza heard Myra's provocation and responded unyieldingly. "Forget it, the S-class wizard will definitely be mine." The two looked at each other, and there seemed to be lightning flashing in the air. The breath of war began to spread, and the people around them quickly retreated, fearing that they would be dragged in. This year, only these two members will take the S-class wizard assessment, Makarov announced the end of the personnel. Immediately, there were some wailing sounds from the guild who were not selected. Kana, who was also selected for the S-class assessment in the original book, was not selected under the wings of the butterfly Yi Yu. Fortunately, Kana now has a good brother Yi Yu, who has reduced her pursuit of guild arts and is not so concerned about becoming an S-class wizard. She did not feel disappointed for not being selected. Makarov clapped his hands, drew everyone's attention back to himself, and said, "Don't be sad for those who are not selected. Work hard. Everyone will have a chance next year. The selected people must be prepared." The test will be held in 3 days on a small island overseas. This time, the assessment content was arranged by Yu and Laxus, and the difficulty is not comparable to previous years. Soon 3 days passed, and a ship with the fairy tale flag flying was sailing towards the nameless island where the last S-rank assessment took place. Hey, here, Yu stood on the beach, waving and shouting at the approaching ship. It turned out that Yu and Laxus did not come with Makarov and the others, but arrived at the island 2 days in advance to arrange the assessment content. Not long after, when the ship approached the shore, Makarov took Urza and Mira off the ship. Welcome to the S-level assessment site, Yu said with a smile. Why are you here alone? Where's Laxus? Makarov asked. He is in the forest preparing for the test. By the way, does anyone want to treat me to a meal? If so, I can lower the difficulty of the test for you later, Yu said jokingly. Treat you to a meal? That's too good to be true. Do I need you to lower the difficulty? Mira said disdainfully. You stinky boy, be serious, this is an S-level assessment. Makarov saw Yu suddenly become unserious and pretended to kick him. Seeing this, Yu quickly hid behind Urza, using Urza as a shield and playing a two-person show with Makarov. In the end, Urza stopped Yu and smiled helplessly. Okay, stop playing around, be serious, I take this S-level assessment very seriously. I'm just afraid that you'll be nervous, so I want to ease the atmosphere. Yu had to stop and muttered after hearing what Urza said. Seeing Yu so timid, Mira next to him gave Yu a look. Yo, so obedient, I'm afraid that Urza passed the test as soon as she said so. Yu immediately understood what she meant, turned around and glared back. Do you know what respect is? If you keep talking nonsense, I'll make things difficult for you. Mira raised her eyebrows and returned a look confidently. It seems that I need to have a good talk with Urza when I go back. Why you are not suitable to be a boyfriend. I was wrong. This eye contact ended with Yu's defeat. Under Mira's smug eyes, Yu walked in front of her and Urza. His face became serious, and announced, now let me announce the specific content of this S-level assessment. The first level of this assessment is 24-hour survival. You need to wear a bell to attract monsters and survive on this island for 24 hours. You are not allowed to attack each other during survival. This doesn't seem difficult, right? Where is the limit? Mirage asked in confusion. Because he had been to this island for the last S-level assessment, he knew the strength of the monsters here. If he just wanted to survive for 24 hours, it would not be a challenge. Of course it's not that simple. This time, Laxus and I placed a lot of treasure chests in the forest on the island. There will be surprises when you open them. Yu said maliciously. Yu took out 2 strings of bells from the space ring, threw them to Urza and Mira, and said, the sound of the bells can be heard by monsters within a range of 1,000 meters. Put them on and go 5 kilometers deep into the forest. That's all for the first level. Now the test begins. Urza and Mira looked at each other, their eyes lit up, and they took action at the same time. Accept the soul of Satan with your whole body. A pure black magic circle appeared above Mira's head, and the dark aura enveloped Mira. Then Mira's appearance changed dramatically. There was a pair of bat wings on her back, a devil's tail behind her, devil's claws on her hands, and cracked makeup on her face. All of this made Mira look very domineering and handsome. Change clothes. Tianlin armor. A pink magic circle flashed, and Urza's whole body was surrounded by silver-white armor, with a pair of armor wings behind her, and long swords floating around her. Urza, all the treasure chests on the island belong to me. Mira flapped her wings and flew towards the forest first. Mira, don't forget, you were the slowest to find things last time, Urza said to Mira who was flying out, and then she quickly flew into the forest. After listening to Yu's introduction to the first level, the two of them understood that the treasure chest was the key to this test, and whoever found more would have an advantage. Seeing that Urza and Mira had set off, Yu immediately took out a parasol, a lounge chair, sunglasses, a small round table, ice juice and a lot of snacks from the space ring. Please sit down, old man, Yu said. You are the one who knows how to enjoy yourself, Makarov said without hesitation, lying directly on the recliner and drinking juice. Yu, who do you think will perform better between Urza and Mira? Makarov put down the juice and asked. How can we say for sure? We will know after we take a look. Yu took out the homemade magic crystal that he had prepared early in the morning and injected magic power into it. A light curtain appeared in front of the two people. At the same time, the surveillance magic circle that had been placed in advance on the island also began to operate, showing all the images of the island on the light curtain. Yi Yu controlled the magic crystal to split the screen, with Urza and Mira standing on half of the light curtain each, showing what the two were doing now. Get out of my way. Mira punched a giant tiger monster and sent it flying. This was the 8th monster she had encountered since entering the island forest. Yi Yu, where did you hide the treasure chest? Mira took a breath and said irritably. At the same time, Urza on the other side found a wooden treasure chest in the lair of a monster after defeating it. Urza found only 2 bottles of water and a note inside, which read, "There are 15 treasure chests on the island, 3 of which are special treasure chests. It seems that the key to this test lies in these 3 special treasure chests. We must find them quickly." Arusa put away the note and began to look for treasure chests around. Time passed quickly, and night fell. Urza and Mira had searched for a whole day and found 10 of the treasure chests, but the special treasure chest was not found. Now the two have returned to normal and found a place to rest, recovering the magic power and physical strength consumed today. The two of them are really persistent. They have been looking for treasure chests all day long. How many monsters have they killed? Yi Yu said admiringly. That's because you don't allow us to fight each other. If we don't fight, the assessment of this level will not be difficult at all, just relying on the monsters. Therefore, there must be something in the treasure chest that increases the difficulty for the opponent, or even something that can eliminate the opponent. This is reasonable. Makarov analyzed it clearly, turned around and asked curiously. So, what did you and Laxus put in the treasure chest? Don't worry, you will know when you read on. Yi Yu laughed and acted as a riddler. 24 hours of survival time left. 14 hours. The night gradually passed, the sun rose from the sea level, and a new day came, which also indicated that the first level of the assessment began to come to an end. Survival time left. 2 hours. Urza and Mira basically did not rest the whole night, and they kept looking for special treasure chests. Along the way, both of them kept fighting with monsters, and without much rest, they became very tired. But neither of them stopped, because they were afraid that the other would find the special treasure chest first. For this S-level assessment, both of them worked hard for a whole year, and they didn't want to taste the taste of failure like last time. Perhaps because they were old rivals, Urza and Mira found the special treasure chest at the same time. Unlike ordinary wooden treasure chests, special treasure chests have some magic array prints on the surface, and there are 2 lines of small words on it, which read, "You need to recite a spell to open the treasure chest." Spell. Yi Yu is the most handsome guy. Seeing this, Mira almost wanted to kick this special treasure chest to pieces. I spent so much effort to find the treasure chest, and now you are doing this to me. Very good, Yi Yu, you wait for me, Mira gritted her teeth and said viciously. Yi Yu is the most handsome guy. Mira hesitated for a while, but still with a face full of resistance, she said the spell firmly. After hearing the spell, the magic circle on the treasure chest turned into white light and dissipated. Mira rubbed her hands and was about to open the treasure chest, with infinite expectations in her heart. Is there anything in the treasure chest that can eliminate Urza? After opening the lid of the treasure chest, she found that there was only a small irregular red crystal inside. Mira picked up the crystal and observed it. When she found nothing special, she injected magic power into it to try. Unexpectedly, she died after trying it. The crystal immediately burst out with special magic power and soared into the sky, forming a huge pillar of light. With the appearance of the light pillar, the sound of monsters galloping came from the surroundings, at least hundreds of them. Yi Yu, you really deserve to die. Mira could only roar, and immediately received the Satan soul and ran away, otherwise she would be dead if she stayed. At the same time, Urza was in the same situation. After finding the treasure chest, Urza blushed, and then spontaneously said the spell, and then the effect of the crystal was naturally triggered. At that moment, Urza decided that after returning, she must punish Yi Yu, and ignore Yi Yu for a month, a week, a day. Both of them were deceived, so badly deceived, only Yi Yu was happy. Ha 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 ha. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. The expressions on their faces when they were cheated were really, ha 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 ha. Yi Yu laughed so hard that she almost couldn't breathe. She took a deep breath, her face regained its composure, and the next second she laughed again. She couldn't help herself. She believed in her analysis and went through so much trouble to find the treasure chest, but ended up being disappointed and falling into greater danger. Such a huge gap brought about a rapid change in expression, which was really wonderful. It can already be included in the teaching materials of Beijing Film Academy. You really have a bad taste, Makarov complained in surprise. Just now, he also widened his eyes because of the effect of the crystal. This was completely different from his analysis last night. Yi Yu was immediately unhappy when he heard Makarov's complaints and said, "How can it be a bad taste? I am training them. When they become S-class wizards, they will no longer simply trust their own judgment when going on missions, but will analyze more and make decisions." Yes, you are right. Makarov did not believe Yi Yu's nonsense at all. As time passed, Urza and Mira found that the bells on their bodies were infected by the magic of the crystal, and the range of attracting monsters was expanded. As a result, countless monsters kept attacking them. They could only start to run for their lives and wait for the survival time to run out. 3, 2, 1. Time is up. The huge broadcast sounded throughout the island. Urza and Mira didn't know how long they had been running under the pursuit of the monsters, and the beautiful broadcast sounded. The bell effect on their bodies disappeared, and the monster tide behind them slowly dissipated. The two of them could finally stop and rest. But before they could rest for 5 minutes, Yi Yu's voice rang in the sky. Now the second level of assessment begins. The rule is that the person who returns to the boat on the shore first will become the winner of this S-level wizard assessment. Laxus and I will stop you. After the announcement, Yi Yu lay down on the recliner leisurely. At the same time, a powerful magic wave emanated from the center of the island. It was Laxus. He and Yi Yu would be the blockers of the second level assessment. If Urza and Mira were both stopped, no one would pass the S-level assessment. By the way, the thing in the last special treasure chest of the first level was to release Laxus to eliminate Urza and Mira, but they were lucky enough not to encounter it. Hey, Urza, I didn't expect to see you here. It seems that you were tortured by the first level and you were in a mess. Ryujin met Urza, who was covered in dust, on the way back to the shore. Urza did not retort to Ryujin, who was also in a mess, but said, "Ryujin, do you want to become an S-class wizard?" "Of course, I will become an S-class wizard before you. Come, let me knock you down first, and then get on the boat," Mira said as a magic circle flashed above her head. The demon Ryujin appeared again. "Wait, Mira, you've passed the first level, don't you know it?" Urza stopped Ryujin, who was about to attack. "I believe you also know Yi Yu's character. He will not let us return to the ship so easily. Fighting now will only make neither of us become S-class wizards. Why don't we cooperate to overcome the difficulties first, and then decide the winner in the end?" Ryujin stopped and looked at Urza. After thinking for a while, she understood Urza's intention and said, "Yes, if we fight here, it will be easy for both of us to suffer. In this case, we can't return to the battlefield under the obstruction of Laxus and Yi Yu." Urza nodded and said, "That's right, only if we cooperate can we have the opportunity to become S-class wizards." At this point, Urza stretched out her right hand and said, "So let's form an alliance, and wait until we reach the beach, and then we will have the final duel." Seeing this, Ryujin's body flashed and returned to its original appearance, and at the same time stretched out her right hand to hold Urza's. "Fine, I will form an alliance with you reluctantly, and we will decide the winner in the end." After Urza and Mira formed an alliance, they moved together to the beach on the shore. But they moved very slowly and secretly, fearing that they would be discovered by Yi Yu and Laxus if they moved too fast. Unfortunately, they were so cautious that they didn't know that their every move was in vain. Yi Yu was watching them. "Laxus, turn 5 degrees to the right and go straight. You will meet Urza and Mira in 2 minutes." Yi Yu put his right hand on his temple and cast magic to contact Laxus. "Got it," Laxus said coolly, and turned into a flash of lightning and sped away. "You are too lazy. You are still playing on the beach. Let Laxus do it." Makarov didn't expect that Yi Yu was still like a salted fish, not moving at all. "How can I be lazy? The treasure chest in the first level and the magic surveillance on the island, which one was not made by me?" Yi Yu, who was wrongly accused, immediately refused to accept it and retorted. "And, if we talk about laziness, it has to be your eldest grandson. It was supposed to be a 2-person arrangement for this S-level assessment, but in the end, he said, 'I believe in your ability and wisdom, and I will follow your arrangements for this assessment.' He just dumped all the work on me. It was very hard for me during this assessment. Hearing Yi Yu's complaint, Makarov turned his head and touched his face awkwardly. He threw all the contents of the S-level assessment to Yi Yu and Laxus and did not ask about it. He did not expect it to be like this. Yi Yu, who seemed to have been playing all the time, took care of most of the things. Laxus, who entered the island to arrange the assessment content at the beginning, only needed to do this. Seeing that Makarov understood, Yi Yu stopped complaining, but changed the subject and asked curiously, "Grandpa, how is your relationship with Laxus now? I asked him to play on the beach with me and enjoy it together, but he refused without a second thought, saying that it would be more comfortable to stay on the island." Makarov sighed and said bitterly, "Laxus was not like this before. He was a well-behaved and lovely child when he was young. But ever since his father made a mistake and was expelled from the guild by me, the relationship between Laxus and me has reached a freezing point." Makarov then began his story, recounting all the scenes of him and Laxus getting along since childhood. After listening to it, Yi Yu also understood the extent of the relationship between the two. One felt that the child was young, and it was not good to tell the child about the mistakes made by his father, for fear of hurting Laxus' young heart. The other was still immature, and just felt that his father had made a big mistake, and his grandfather should not have expelled his father from the guild. Later, Makarov felt that he had not taught his son well, causing Laxus to be away from his father at a young age after losing his mother, and he felt guilty. At the same time, he was also afraid that if he did not teach well again, Laxus would repeat the same mistakes and follow in his father's path, so he became particularly strict, wanting to guide Laxus onto the right path. On the other hand, when he was a child, Laxus could not understand Makarov's intentions. He just felt that his grandfather did not love him anymore, being so strict with him and so tolerant with the children in the guild. He could not understand why his grandfather was still so strict with him, as he had tried his best to be the best among his peers. These two people, one who could not teach children and express his feelings, and the other who was particularly tsundere and could not express his desire for love, led to the civil war in fairy tale later. It was not until the Tenro Island arc that they both grew up, understood their own problems, and understood each other's difficulties, and completed the reconciliation. Yi Yu, do you think I am a failure as a father and grandfather? My son has gone astray, and my relationship with my grandson is very bad. Makarov closed his eyes and said bitterly. Old man, this is not your problem, you have done your best. Yi Yu rubbed his temple in distress and said to the emo Makarov. Old man, how about this? I'll talk to Laxus later and see if I can ease the relationship between you two. But let me make it clear first, I can't guarantee that it will work, and there is a high probability that it will not work. Yi Yu took precautions in advance to prevent Makarov from having hope and then disappointment, causing a psychological gap. It's okay, it doesn't matter if it's useless, after all, we have been here for so many years, Makarov said, pretending not to care. But Yi Yu also understood that Makarov couldn't help but care about this kind of thing, so he could only touch his head and start thinking of a solution. Last year, Yi Yu talked to Laxus, hoping that he would be accepted into the guild and understand Makarov. Later, he was too busy, either dating, doing tasks, practicing, and developing the newspaper. He didn't pay attention to it anymore. Now it seems that the relationship between Makarov and Laxus is still very bad, and it hasn't improved at all. It's too difficult to find a way to make them reconcile now. Otherwise, try to let Laxus start the fairy tale civil war in advance, so that it can be solved in one go. Yi Yu thought about it again, but still couldn't come up with a good idea, so he decided to go back and persuade Laxus and Makarov, and if it didn't work, he would just wait for the civil war. After confirming the plan, Yi Yu couldn't help but scold himself in his heart, why do you have nothing to do to ask that kind of question? This is a problem that a young man like you can handle. While Yi Yu and Makarov were talking about Laxus's problem, Urza and Mira were already fighting with Laxus. When Yi Yu explained Urza and Mira to Laxus, Laxus turned into a flash of lightning and rushed away. 2 minutes later, Urza and Mira felt a magical power coming quickly from behind them. They turned around and saw a golden lightning passing through the two of them and stopped in front of them. The golden lightning slowly turned into a person wearing a yellow t-shirt, golden hair, a headset, one hand in his trouser pocket, and a cool expression on his face. It looks like your assessment is about to end here, Laxus said grimly. Were we discovered so soon? Where is Yi Yu? Urza clenched the sword in her hand and looked around vigilantly. If you want us to fail the test, you can't do it alone. Call Yi Yu out and let me beat him up. Mira raised her fist and said confidently. I am enough to deal with you all by myself, Laxus said arrogantly, his body flashing with lightning. How dare you say that? Accept it with your whole body, Satan's soul. Change clothes. Thunder Emperor armor. Mira was about to take action without saying anything, and Urza immediately followed suit, changing into armor that can improve resistance to lightning, holding the Thunder Emperor's spear in her hand. At this time, Urza's hair is braided, and a ribbon is tied in her hair. The appearance is a light green armor with lightning patterns. Take it, Laxus, Dark Spark. Mira shouted, and her hands began to gather dark energy, turning it into a light bullet and shooting towards Laxus. It's just a trifle, Laxus said disdainfully, and released a lightning ball from his left hand, blocking the dark sparks one by one. While Mira and Laxus were fighting, Urza quickly moved to the right side of Laxus and stabbed him with a shot. Laxus pulled out his right hand from his pocket, and with an electric fist, he knocked the Thunder Emperor's spear away, and the current on his hand also followed the Thunder Emperor's spear to Urza's body. Fortunately, the Thunder Emperor's armor has a high resistance to lightning attributes, and Urza was not affected by the current, and stabbed at Laxus again. Laxus blocked it with another punch, and fought with Urza again. After a few moves, Urza was distracted. Mira, however, had an extremely keen sense of battle, and instantly seized this opportunity of distraction. She immediately gave up the confrontation, flapped her wings vigorously, and instantly came to the left side of Laxus, forming a double-sided situation with Urza, and attacked Laxus at the same time. Urza and Mira cooperated very well, and the offensive of fists and guns was endless, leaving no breathing space for Laxus. Facing attacks from both sides, Laxus was overwhelmed and at a disadvantage. He was hit several times and paid the price for his arrogance at the beginning. Lightning. Lightning burst out from Laxus' body, and then transformed the lightning into light, flashing Urza and Mira for a moment, and immediately retreated to escape from the situation of being surrounded on both sides. Laxus, when did you learn Yi Yu's moves? You always play dirty, Urza also complained. Mira also nodded in agreement. Yi Yu obviously has the ability to win in an upright manner, but he just likes to use some dirty tricks to win. After hearing Urza's comments, Yi Yu outside the screen immediately refused to do it and shouted in dissatisfaction. What do you mean by dirty? This is clearly a tactical necessity. It is to create a weakness. It is to create an advantage. How can such pure white light be dirty? When you become S-class wizards and go out on missions, you will know what is dirty, and then you all come and apologize to my eyes of light. Unfortunately, Urza and Mira on the screen couldn't hear them, and they took a breath and fought with Laxus again. But this time they became smarter, knowing that they couldn't take down Laxus in a short time, and fighting further would only be a waste of magic power. They started to fight while moving towards the beach, preparing to shake off Laxus and get on the boat. Yi Yu was still watching the show, drinking juice, lying on the lounge chair, waiting for Urza and Mira to come to this place that must be passed to get on the boat. Not long after, Yi Yu saw from the screen that the battle between the three was about to move to his side, and hurriedly put the things into the space ring, stood on the beach ready, waiting for them to come. Thunder Emperor's Spear. Urza gathered her magic power into the spear in her hand and threw it towards Laxus with all her strength. Soul Exterminator. Mira gathered a lot of darkness in her hands, generating a super powerful dark shock wave, and shot it towards Laxus. Urza and Mira saw that they were about to move to the beach, and they threw their ultimate moves at Laxus at the same time in tacit understanding. Without waiting for the result of the ultimate move, the two ran towards the beach. When the two rushed out of the forest and just stepped onto the beach, they saw Yi Yu, who had been waiting for a long time, greeting them, and their mood immediately sank. The final test is here. Oh, have you two had lunch? Yi Yu greeted Urza and Mira enthusiastically. Eat. I want to eat you now. Mira said angrily. How scary. You actually eat people. Yi Yu Huang Salang's face. Old man, look at Mira's face. It smells like a dark guild. Should we just sentence her to fail the test? Yi Yu turned around and complained to Makarov on the boat on the shore. This made Mira so angry that she rushed towards Yi Yu without saying a word, trying to twist his head off. Really, these two are at it again, Urza said helplessly. Ever since Yi Yu confessed to Urza last year, Mira and Urza have not fought each other, and usually just bicker. The two suddenly became peaceful, and this change surprised everyone in the guild. What's going on? Could it be that the S-level assessment has some magical power that can make Urza and Mira peaceful? But this change left Mira with no one to fight with in the guild, causing Mira, who was eager to fight, to choose to challenge Yi Yu. Yi Yu certainly would not refuse this punching bag that was delivered to his doorstep, and it was a good opportunity for him to experiment with some of his own magic. In addition to his own magic, Yi Yu would occasionally surprise people from various angles, playing in a shady way, which made Mira furious. This gave Urza and Mira, who were watching the game, the impression that Yi Yu played dirty. Mira never challenged Yi Yu again, but used Urza as a shield and kept making trouble for Yi Yu to avenge the last challenge. The guild also changed from Yi Yu watching Urza and Mira fighting to Urza watching Yi Yu and Mira fighting. Dark flow. A large amount of dark energy gathered in Mira's hands, forming a huge dark claw that grabbed Yi Yu. Two small white magic circles flashed under Yi Yu's feet, and his own magic, Instant Step, was activated. This was a magic developed by learning from the Instant Step in Bleach, which allows one to move quickly. With the speed brought by the Instant Step, Yi Yu dodged the Devil's Claw in the blink of an eye and quickly approached Mira. Then he punched Mira's stomach hard, knocking her more than 10 meters away, splashing a lot of dust. Today's battle is a test, so I won't play any tricks. I'll let you see what the difference in strength is. Yi Yu said arrogantly. Change of clothes. Armor of Heavenly Wheel. Tianlin Dizzy Sword. Aluza, wearing Tianlin armor, floated and attacked Yi Yu quickly, with dozens of magic swords floating around her. As the voice fell, the magic swords floating around Urza arranged in a circle, turning into streams of light and rushing towards Yi Yu. Yi Yu moved his feet, and the magic Instant Step was activated. His figure instantly left the original place and easily dodged all the sword lights. Arusa, here I come, Yi Yu reminded her, and then he walked towards Urza. Yi Yu instantly came in front of Urza, holding the flowing blade Jakka that he had summoned at some point, and slashed at Urza. With Yi Yu's reminder, Urza barely reacted and raised her sword to block the attack. So fast. Urza was surprised at Yi Yu's speed, because Yi Yu had never demonstrated his flash step in front of Urza before. But Yi Yu did not give Urza time to be surprised. He flashed to Urza's right again and kicked her, sending her flying more than 10 meters away. Go to hell. Just as Urza flew out, Mira appeared behind Yi Yu and attacked him. Her hands were covered with black energy. Dark sparks. Instantly, dozens of energy balls exploded on Lu Chengxi's body. The smoke from the explosion obscured Yi Yu's figure. Light shape magic. Escape. Mu da, it's useless. Yi Yu sneered, and waved his hand to disperse the smoke. He raised his flowing blade and rushed towards Mira, who was close at hand, and chopped it down with the back of the blade. Mira, who had no time to dodge, could only raise her arms to block. With the power of Yi Yu's huge magic, Mira was chopped to the ground with one hand, and barely managed to hold it. Urza, who was blown away in the distance, quickly got up from the ground, and saw Yi Yu and Mira wrestling. She knew that the opportunity had come. A light flashed on her body, and the light of change to giant armor dissipated, and a new set of armor appeared on Urza's body. This is an armor that can increase the power of throwing attacks. The appearance is yellow with dark blue patterns and a little bit of white plush armor at the connection of the armor. In her hand, she was holding a javelin, a long spear that had the power to destroy all evil, the evil breaking spear. It was a pity that the Thunder Emperor had just been used against Laxus, otherwise the evil breaking spear would be very suitable for throwing. Urza raised the javelin and threw it hard at Yi Yu, who was wrestling, and the javelin flew out like a rocket. Hearing the sound of breaking air from behind, Yi Yu first kicked Mira, who was kneeling on one knee, away, and then hid to the side with a flash step. The javelin flew along the beach and flew into the distance, causing a roar. It was so scary, it almost hit me, Yi Yu said calmly. You should at least pretend to be scared. Change your clothes. Black feather armor, Urza said, and the light flashed again. She was wearing black armor with a white cross on the outside, and bat-like wings on her back. She could use the wings to fly and attack the target. Urza flapped her wings and quickly came to Yi Yu's right side. She took the black one-handed sword and slashed at Yi Yu's neck. At the same time, Mira, who was originally kicked away, also quickly came to Yi Yu's left side, condensed a large amount of dark energy in her hands, strengthened her demon claws, and went straight to Yi Yu's chest. Just like the battle with Laxus just now, Mira and Urza on the other side formed a two-sided pincer attack. Seeing that the swords and claws of the two were getting closer and closer, Yu opened his mental perception and immediately saw the flaws in their attacks. Light shape magic. Sword. Yu blocked the attacks from both sides at the same time, and used his skill to guide Mira slightly, causing her to overexert herself, and rushed from the left to the right, blocking Urza. Yu seized the opportunity, put away his sword and punched Urza with two punches. Bang! Bang! Two loud noises were heard in succession. One punch hit Mira's back, and the other punch hit Urza's shoulder, knocking them down directly. Then, before the two of them could get up, he attacked again, grabbed their feet, and smashed Loki like a mad Hulk. Urza and Mira only felt their bodies flying up, and the surrounding scenes flashed in their eyes, and pain continued to come from all parts of their bodies. When the two came back to their senses from the confusion, they found themselves lying in a pit that fit their bodies perfectly. How could this not fit? They were all smashed out by the body. What's it like? Is it fun? Yu asked curiously, standing above the two people's heads. Yu's voice also reminded the two people that they were still taking the assessment. Change clothes, flying armor. Arusa's body flashed again. This time it was a set of armor that could increase speed. The clothes on her body were animal skins, the ears were also changed into animal ears, and the weapons were double swords. Animal ears. Are you trying to seduce me? Urza. Yu raised his eyebrows and said excitedly. Urza ignored Yu's words, but stood up quickly and came to the front of the problem in an instant. Yu easily drew his sword to block it. At the same time, Mira immediately got up, went around Yu's side, and attacked together with Urza. This time, the use of force was obviously much more cautious, and was not guided and deflected by Yu. The sword light flew across, and the collision between sword and knife, sword and claw produced sparks that kept flashing, forming a strange beauty. Urza's speed at this moment, coupled with Mira's flanking attack from both sides, temporarily maintained the situation at a 50-50 level. But this is not what Yu wanted. Immediately, his mind moved, and the hot flames burned from the body of the flow blade, greatly enhancing the power. At the same time, he let go of the lightsaber in the other hand and swung it hard. In a circle, Ryujin Jakka struck with flames, and Urza and Mira were swept back. Yu stood there without moving, and waited for the two to attack again. Urza and Mira were chased by monsters after searching for treasure chests, fighting with Laxus, and fighting with Yu just now, and their magic power and physical strength were almost exhausted. Now they are seizing this opportunity and desperately recovering a little bit of magic power and physical strength. Seeing that Urza and Mira did not attack, Yu raised his eyebrows and prepared to take the initiative, but suddenly a person walked out of the forest. This person was Laxus, who had been hit by two big moves, his body was torn and tattered, and he was injured. The appearance of Laxus made Urza and Mira feel nervous. Yu alone can't deal with it, and with Laxus, what should we do? Urza and Mira looked at each other and saw the powerlessness in each other's eyes. I'm afraid no one can pass this S-level assessment. Don't worry, Laxus won't do anything, Yu explained after seeing the two's powerlessness. Yes, I won't do anything. The beach is Yu's responsibility, Laxus said unhappily. After that, he did not stay to wait for the final result, but went back to the boat angrily to rest. Because Yu and Laxus had discussed in advance that Laxus would be responsible for the island forest, and Yu would be responsible for the last bit of road, the beach. Before the assessment began, Laxus also told Yu that Urza and Mira would never be able to reach the beach in his hands. However, it was so easy to be slapped in the face. Not only did Laxus not stop Urza and Mira from coming to the beach, he was also injured because of them. This was a big loss of face. Laxus didn't dare to stay in front of Yu anymore. He could only rest on the boat and be angry with himself. When Urza and Mira heard that Laxus would not take action, they felt a little hopeful again. The two of them worked together to break through Yu and get on the boat. There was also hope that it's almost time. There's no point in playing anymore. It's time to end the assessment. Yu looked up at the sky and said seriously. Urza and Mira swallowed their saliva at the same time, sweating nervously. They had seen Yu's fire that burned the sky and boiled the sea more than once. They believed that as long as Yu was willing, the island under their feet would be burned to ashes in a very short time. Now facing such a fire, how could they not be nervous? Yu naturally held Ryujin Jakka and lowered it to the ground. The aura on his body began to rise, and the terrifying temperature slowly spread from the blade. As soon as a drop of sweat appeared on Urza's forehead, it was immediately dried by the heat wave. Looking down slightly, the sand under Yiyu's feet had already shown signs of crystallization. When the flame of Ryujin Jakka is fully released, the beach will become a casserole, and Urza and Mira will directly become a dish. As Yiyu injected magic power into Ryujin Jakka, the temperature around it has risen to an unimaginable temperature. Urza and Mira saw that Yiyu's figure had begun to distort, and every air inhaled into the body became extremely hot, which was very painful. All the creatures in the universe are reduced to ashes, and the blade is as sharp as fire. Boom! A huge amount of flames gushed out madly with Yiyu as the center, and even produced a huge explosion. Everything around was also ignited by the flames. The burning forest, the crystallized beach, the boiling sea water, everything close to Yiyu, all under the influence of Ryujin Jakka, have undergone tremendous changes. Laxus, who changed his clothes on the boat, looked at the sky dyed red by the flames again. The figure wrapped in flames began to ache all over his body. This was the problem that appeared after being defeated by Yiyu with Ryujin Jakka last time. Whenever he saw the flames, he would feel a burning sensation on his body. Humph, Yiyu, you are stronger than last year. It seems that I have to work harder, otherwise I may not even be able to catch up with you. Laxus clenched his fists and made up his mind secretly. Makarov, who was standing on the deck with Laxus, saw the flames rising into the sky and was very anxious. He kept blaming Yiyu, this guy, has no idea of being gentle with women. He treats girls so violently and even uses flowing blade Yakka. Does he want to burn them to death? The power of this flame is much greater than last year. What if it can't be controlled and something happens to Urza and Mira? Yiyu, you little brat, you'd better bring Urza and Mira back intact, otherwise you're dead. Laxus had just made up his mind when he heard Makarov's muttering. His face suddenly turned darker than black, and snow fell in June in his heart. Ever since his father was expelled from the guild, Laxus has never seen Makarov worry about him, but only be strict. Laxus couldn't stand this contrast, so he snorted and turned back to the cabin. Makarov's attention was all attracted by the battle between Yiyu and the other two. He didn't notice the changes in his grandson, and didn't realize that their relationship had deteriorated again. This is Makarov. He would express his emotions to Urza and Mira, who are like his granddaughters, but he would restrain all his emotions and only show strictness to Laxus. Flame, flame, and more flame. Urza looked around and found that she was surrounded by flames. There was no gap to break through. This was the first time Urza stood in front of Yiyu and felt Yiyu's power up close, feeling this power like the sun. Change clothes. Flame Emperor's armor. A light flashed across her body. Urza was wearing a fiery red armor that was extremely resistant to flames and high temperatures. This allowed her to stay in relatively good condition in the endless heat waves. Mira, who had no means of defending against flames and high temperatures, was not in a good condition. Under the baking of the 6,000% flame, her body began to lack water and her brain began to feel dizzy. Mira, are you okay? Urza asked worriedly. It's okay, I can still hold on. Mira supported her knees with both hands and answered reluctantly. Yiyu closed his eyes and enjoyed it for a while. After not releasing the pleasure of Ryujin Jakka for several months, he looked at Urza and Mira. Urza, who was in a better condition among the two, was now exhausted. It was estimated that if Yiyu stood there and did nothing and maintained Ryujin Jakka for 5 minutes, both of them would faint. Seeing this, Yiyu knew that he couldn't be serious at all. If he didn't let it go, he was afraid that no one would pass the S-level test this time. Next, I will only use one strike. Those who can still stand after the strike will be considered to have passed the test, Yiyu said seriously. That's great, Mira, we don't have to compete anymore, we both have a chance to pass the test and become S-class wizards together, Urza said happily. Yes, we have a chance to pass the test together. Mira took a breath of hot air, straightened her body, and shouted, Yiyu, come on. Yiyu gently raised the flowing blade like fire, swung his backhand, and the flames around him flew. The heat waves began to riot, and turned into waves that hit the two of them one after another. Songming. As Yiyu finished speaking, the flames gathered around them into a huge tornado of flames that completely covered the two of them. The tornado of flames rushed straight into the sky, dispersing the clouds in the sky and revealing the golden sun. The fire tornado did not last long, and Yu released his first release and controlled it to dissipate. In the pit burned by the fire tornado, only Urza was left standing. Mira could no longer maintain the form of Satan's soul, and turned back into a little girl, lying on the ground, and fell into a coma. At this moment, Urza's Entei armor had turned into red fragments. Although the Entei armor has the ability to resist flames and high temperatures, it can only last a little longer in the face of the flames of Ryujin Jakka. It is normal for it to turn into red fragments now. In addition to relying on the Entei armor, Urza holds a huge double-sided shield with a white and dark blue appearance. This is a shield from Urza's strongest defensive armor, Vajra armor. When the two shields are combined, a green magic barrier will appear, which has extremely powerful defensive power. But at this moment, this extremely powerful shield is now covered with cracks all over the body, as if it will turn into the same fragments of the Entei armor in the next moment. Although she was staggering and covered with armor fragments, Urza still supported herself with her shield and stood still without falling. Congratulations, Urza, you passed the test and became an S-class wizard. Yu announced the result with a smile. After Urza heard the test result, the strings in her mind were released, and she could no longer support her body. She let go of the shield and fell down. Yu immediately stepped to Urza's side, supported Urza's fallen body and lay down next to Mira. He took out the recovery potion that Grandma Palyuzika had prepared early in the morning from the space ring and fed Urza and Mira to drink. After drinking the potion, the breathing of the two immediately became much smoother. Yu checked the injuries and found that there was no big problem. Just go back and rest for 2 days. Yu looked at Urza and Mira lying on the ground. One of them felt insecure because of the Tower of Paradise, so she used armor and a strong character to protect herself. The other disguised herself as a little girl who was not easy to bully because she wanted to protect her younger brothers and sisters. Only when they were asleep would their faces show the youthfulness of this age. You are all so strong-willed, don't you know that I will feel bad for you? Yu sighed, and then he supported one of them in each hand and walked towards the boat on the beach. What happened? Are Urza and Mira seriously injured? Do they need to go back for treatment? Makarov asked anxiously when he saw Yu bringing the two back. It's all right. I was very measured in my actions. Besides, I couldn't bear to let them get seriously injured. Don't you believe me? Yu asked with an expression that said, you don't trust me, my heart is hurt. Get out. Do you think the fire tornado you released has any sense of measure? Makarov heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that no one was seriously injured, and then he cursed with a smile. Yu suddenly remembered something and said, Grandpa, I just changed the assessment rules temporarily, and the one who finally passed the assessment is Urza. Okay, got it. Send them back to the cabin to rest first. We are going back to the ship. Makarov waved his hand to indicate that it was a minor problem and that as long as everyone was fine, it would be fine. A ship with the flag of Fairy Tale was sailing on the sea, and on the ship were Yu and his group returning home. In the lounge of the cabin, two figures were lying quietly on the bed. Yu moved a chair and sat between the two beds to study magic. He was playing with a magic circle in his hand, and from time to time the magic circle would tremble and eventually collapse. Not long after, Urza's eyelids, who was lying on the bed, trembled slightly. After noticing Urza's movement, Yu stopped his research, dispersed the magic circle in his hand, and waited quietly for Urza to wake up. Not long after, Urza slowly opened her eyes, and saw an unfamiliar ceiling. Her memory was still stuck on the time when she was desperately resisting the flames. After a while, she remembered that she seemed to have persisted to the end, and fell down only after hearing that she had passed the S-level test. Thinking of the test, Urza remembered to go to Yu to confirm, but she just lifted her body a little and fell down weakly. You'd better not move. The previous test has exhausted you. Take a good rest now. Yu gently helped Urza up and said softly. Then he took out a cup of honey water from the space ring, handed it to Urza, and advised, drink it in small sips, don't be too anxious. Seeing the honey water, Urza immediately felt very thirsty. She took the honey water and drank a sip before asking, Yu, did I pass the test? Yu smiled slightly, sat down next to Urza, and directly put one hand around her and said, our Urza is so great, of course she passed. Urza, who got the answer, gently closed her eyes, leaned on Yu's chest with enjoyment, listened to the reassuring heartbeat, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. After an unknown amount of time, a voice suddenly rang, destroying the warm atmosphere. How long will you two hug each other? There's a single dog here, be careful of the impact. Myra's dissatisfied voice reached the ears of the two, making Urza's face red, and she immediately pushed Yu away. Urza was not used to being intimate with Yu in front of others. This time, when Mira saw her, she lowered her head shyly and dared not speak. Yu was thick-skinned and not shy at all. She stood up and walked to Mira, helped her up, and took out a glass of honey water and handed it to her. You use Xiaoqi very well. When did you learn from me? Yu asked curiously. I don't know, but it will be very useful when the reaction comes back. Mira drank a sip of bee water, turned to Urza and asked, Urza, did you pass the test? Passed. Urza was afraid of Myra's disappointment, so she didn't dare to say it out loud, so she replied quietly. Ah, I knew you would pass it. Myra's eyes flashed with disappointment, and after blinking a few times, she became resolute again and said proudly, Arusa, I lost this time, I will win next time. Seeing Myra's mood recover, Urza also became equally proud and said, I will still win next time. The two looked at each other and smiled brightly at the same time. You guys have a good rest, I'll go out and get some fresh air. Yu saw that both of them were fine, so she planned to leave and not disturb the two girls. She just sat by the bed, just in case they woke up and needed help, but no one helped, that would be bad. Now it seems that basically nothing happened, and they are still talking and laughing. Please like my videos and subscribe for more videos.